सिद्धार्थ, ओवर टू यू। अगर आप हिंदी में कंफर्टेबल नहीं हो, आप अंग्रेजी में जवाब दीजिएगा, पर मैं ये जानना चाहूंगी कि एज समवन हु कीनली वॉचेस आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस एंड स्टार्टअप, आप क्या उम्मीद कर रहे हैं इस बजट में? आप क्या चाहते हैं? एआई पर बात तो बहुत हो रही है, पर कॉन्क्रीट आप क्या होते हुए देखना चाहते हैं इस बजट में? वो कौन सी बात है जो आपको खुश करेगी?
I think there's been a lot of talk about AI as of now, but we do need to see concrete action. I think when it comes to even in the economic survey as well, they have mentioned that India's approach is not to fight the West when it comes to large language models, high intensity compute, massive farms of GPU, etc., but to actually look at the application base as well as to start training all of our people. Now, I think the first and foremost thing that India needs to actually do is to attract Indian talent that's actually sitting out in the West to allow them to end up actually coming back. I think Trump has done tremendous amount of work to end up actually making the US a truly unattractive place for global talent also for that matter. We've seen what's happening in Minneapolis with ICE and all the other things that's actually there. Several countries across the world are actually actively trying to woo this talent to come back, but India doesn't have a scheme on that particular piece as of now. I think one of the biggest things for AI talent to retain them is to give them clarity on the taxation of their ESOPs. Many of them work for XAI, work for OpenAI, work for all these large companies over there, and they're sitting on massive amounts of ESOPs. And India has amongst the worst ESOP policies across the entire world. So in order to attract this particular talent, they actually need clarity on the ESOP taxation. They should be grandfathered in, not actually taxed in India. There needs to be tax clarity also as to how they'll end up actually getting treated. I think we've seen a similar case with Bini Bansal where the tax residency question actually became unwound. And there's a large tax bill that also has to come in. So that's also spooked a large number of people that comes in. And lastly, when it comes to training as well, all the talk about training from the Indian government so far has actually been training in terms of internships, etc. There's almost no mention of how to end up actually getting our students AI ready. I think the current method of teaching, where you end up actually learning a large amount, you write an exam, which is primarily to rote memory for that matter, and then you figure out application when you reach the job world, doesn't end up actually holding true anymore. We've seen apps like Gemini, like Claude, etc., end up actually actively replacing entry-level jobs to a large number of people. Now, in order for Indian college students and students to end up becoming job ready, we need to end up actually teaching them these kind of skills at day one itself. We haven't seen any sort of policy guideline on that particular piece whatsoever. So we do have and India is amongst the largest consumers of AI products across the entire world. We've seen Anthropic, OpenAI, etc., end up actually opening up centers and teams in India just to end up actually managing their Indian user base itself. Right. I think so. We have to start looking at application based. We have to start looking at skilling, and the skilling can't happen to colleges alone. I mean, we are getting the new bill, etc., when it comes to education. But if they actually take the internship program and allow that to end up actually working with AI companies and AI startups, a large amount will happen. And to use the technology services companies are going to, despite what everyone says, going to benefit from the AI boom, because AI integration is not the question of logging into one of these systems and actually using it. Right. The data sanitization, putting everything into silos, making sure the security is actually top notch, will end up involving a large amount of IT services companies. So use them as your launching pads and your training grounds for a large number of people, right. And we will be able to end up becoming the third horse in the large AI race across the world.
All right, Siddharth, thanks. And hold your thought there. I want to bring in Sri because, this is also one of your favorite subjects, Sri, and, you often talk about it. But some anecdote, before I let you weigh in on all that Siddharth spoke about, and very important issues. There is ESOP taxation, which I think is absolutely central right now to, to this entire sort of debate on startups coming to India or Indians working in big tech abroad. And then, of course, this entire issue of skilling. But I want to talk about in the context of the fears of employees losing their jobs to AI. I went to Mall of India yesterday, right here in Noida with my daughter. And there's this beautiful robo which is doing the rounds, sort of walking with a big screen and ready to help you on the ground floor. Right. And we start interacting with the robo. And we just put in a query. And suddenly this guy comes running from behind and tells us, ये रोबो थर्ड फ्लोर तक नहीं जाएगा, आपकी क्वेरी थर्ड फ्लोर की है. And we are taken aback and we are asking him, dude, the robo is supposed to do the job of a robo. Why does it need human assistance? And his job really is to safeguard that robo so nobody sort of switches it off and takes it away with him in his car. So, the idea really is that robos eating up Indian jobs still seems a little far-fetched in India, because for every robo, we seem to be adding one human job, but that is just anecdotal evidence right now. But the larger question of of ESOPs getting taxed, I think we need clarity on that, because ESOPs should ideally be taxed only on liquidation. But right now, there is a lot of ambiguity around the fact that ESOPs are taxed every time the share price of the company goes up. So how does the budget ensure that there is some tax clarity on ESOPs?
So You know, taxation is ripe for many changes, Karthik. You know, right from what Barnik talked about to even the fact that why should I as a consumer pay, 18% GST? You know, why did we do it with a 12% rate? I would like to, I'm already paying a high tax. Why do I have to again, spend, give 18% on my consumption? So on many consumption items. So I think tax as a subject is ripe for, I think the broad overall architecture for India should be that we are one of the most friendly tax nations. At this point, when we're talking about political sovereign autonomy, I think that needs to translate into our economic and business policy, the ease of doing business policy. Unless we are able to, make it easy for people to bring in money, create wealth, and take money out, I think we're going to struggle to fund our growth. Like Barnik said, we need $200 billion. Where is that going to come from?
Right.
So we need at this juncture to roll out the red carpet to all kinds of investors, whether it's a portfolio investor, whether it's an FDI investor, let them bring money. We need to unshackle our SMEs, make it easy for them to raise money. You can't have meaningless schemes which banks then, thwart when it comes to implementation of those schemes. As an SME or a startup today, I can't raise 5 crore without selling my kidney, literally, right? So what is the point in having these schemes if, you can't help the MSC, and then you expect the economy to grow at 8 to 10%, you want to be a Viksit Bharat.
Right.
So, if you want to be a Viksit Bharat, if you really mean it, I think there are a lot of, changes, reforms we need to do still, especially in the taxation front. The tax aggression has to go down in this nation. We should not penalize people who are creating wealth and not see wealth creation as anything, a criminal activity. I think that's, I feel very strongly about it. So, pardon my using some strong words here.